Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BSL 20 Hasuleague semifinal. The first match is between Yuey and Bayaster. Up to left hand corner we got Yuey starting as the red Zerg, bottom left hand corner we have Bayaster starting as the blue Protoss. This is going to be on Metropolis, which I'm going to say favors Yuey potentially a little bit, just because we'll have to see. It depends. It depends, as always. Nuance in the world, God forbid. You have the very large exposed natural expansion. And I feel like this invites Mutalisk play. If Yuey opts to go Hydralisk, if at any point he gets Lurker and Drop, can also be very, very strong for that. However, and you can just see where there's just wide open base to utilize drops. However, for the Protoss side of things, you can always get shuttles and drop High Templar and things along those lines as well. And you can see where High Templar drops become very devastating over this ridge. Although I guess I feel like Scourger at that stage of the game are a little bit more viable. Point being, I feel like Mutalisks end up being a little bit stronger in comparison to other things. Anyway, Yuey is sending the Overlord the proper direction. I think Bayaster is going to see the Overlord, yeah, as it's coming over that edge, so he's going to know he's on the right trail as well. In the meantime, it looks like we are seeing an Overlord first build. We are going to go for an Overpool. I think seeing that's a wise decision, seeing that probe at close proximity. Bayaster, interestingly enough, is he going to go for Forge? Is he going to go straight Nexus here? He's still not sent out a probe. This is going to be interesting because it looks like Bayaster game 1 is opting to play what I'm going to consider potentially a suicidal early opener here, because he's very, very late with this Forge. Is he dropping the Forge? Okay, finally deciding to drop that Forge. That Forge was, I mean, granted it's Overpool, so the Zerglings aren't coming at you as rapidly, but this was still a very late Forge. And I presume he's just going to go Forge, Nexus, Cannon, but my question will be, if Yuey dedicates the initial 6 Zerglings, is he going to take a shot at that natural expansion? There the Nexus drops. So Forge completes. Only a pit. Wow, I'm wondering if this is a mind read play or if it's a study play. Okay, there's second Zergling constructed. Last pairs. So we do have, sorry, it is a drone. So it's only 4 Zerglings and a drone. The Overlord now making its way into position. There's the first Photon Cannon warping in. I guess I'm just off on the timing of that. Well, no, maybe not. Yeah, I think if they ignore, okay, Bayaster doing a good job of presenting that probe to draw the Zerglings away. Because, and Yuey's got to be kicking himself. He needs to get the Overlord out of the way at this stage, but he might be kicking himself looking at how late that cannon was comparatively, by the way, the hatchery up. But good job. We also have the 12 o'clock hatchery being constructed, by the way. Good job, though, on Bayaster presenting that probe, as that is going to give Bayaster a pretty hefty, quick start here on, at least economically. I mean, it's not just a straight Nexus play, but he got that Nexus down pretty quick and really wasn't punished for slow cannons. Anyway, natural expansion getting built, extractor being tacked on as well. The probe still has not been wiped out, so Bayaster doing a great job keeping that alive. That can honestly be the difference in straight up just any PvZ play. Bayaster's actually been playing pretty well. I think I kind of overlooked him in the initial stages as far as high level play. I highlighted Ghostfer, but honestly Bayaster also one of those guys that's really shown some up level of play here. Probe making its way out, wants to confirm the location of that third hatchery and that it's actually in existence. 2 Overlords dedicated for scouting here. What this does do is with a decently sped, woo, careful Yuey, maybe that was not an intentional second Overlord. And it was over rallied. Oof. Okay, that's very, very scary, actually, for Yuey. So if Bayaster keeps his normal build order, gets the Stargate down at usual timing, you have 1 Overlord that's weakened at close proximity. You have a second one that's a short hop and a jump away to be taken out at the near 9 o'clock location. So Yuey, is basically forced into 3-hatch Hydralisk. Let's see if he goes for 973. That would, or some sort of early pressure Hydra play, because that might save these Overlords at forward position and negate. I think that's something that people, if you get hit often with these Overlords, then you're just softening them up for Fallout Corsair. That can be a important inflection point in the overall build order. Anyway, Zealot making its way to the 12 o'clock location. Yuey having trouble here. The initial stages still hasn't been able to take out that probe, 1, and 2 did not spot the Zealot coming out of the Forge because of the Overlord damage, now scattering out of that 12 o'clock location, constructing a Hydralisk there. We have more Hydralisks. It looks like we do have some additional Hydralisks popping. And that's as Bayaster loses his initial scouting drone. So he's not confirmed Hydralisks at this stage. Has dropped the second preventative cannon, +1 weapons, and Corsair is being built. Corsair spotted at the 12 o'clock, which should cause Bayaster, and whoa, very fast robotics, by the way. Third cannon dropped. That was a very, I think we're seeing Corsair gonna utilize the highly droppable area of the map and attempt Corsair Reaver in the midst of this. Fourth cannon, though, on the way. The Zealot at the 12 o'clock location disrupted some economy, but this might be a quick win for Yuey on the turnaround, as this is 4 cannons and not a lot else, and we have a lot of Hydralisks making the way. And a handful of Zerglings along the side as well. Zealot marching its way out. It needs to preserve as much health as possible. First Corsair away, gets caught by a handful of Hydralisks. This should be an indication to, yeah, we get additional 2 cannons drop. Now the question is it in time? 8 Hydralisks full, making the way. Range not complete as of yet, but a lot of Hydralisks queued up. Gateway down. Additional cannons dropped for Bayaster. A little bit of emergency mode in response to this. Flurry of cannon hits. One of them actually looked like it struck past the cannon range distance. Kind of one of the oddities of StarCraft. Forge now getting tacked away at from the distance point. You being a little bit careful about the initial Hydralisk he dedicates to this. This is mostly undivable at this stage. I think this is way too many. Shuttle being built. I don't know if there's a robotics behind this. The robotics would have shut that down. Shuttle speed being built. A Reaver would obviously shut this down pretty rapidly. If the Overlord moves in and does take, and the Overlord here to deal with Dark Templar potentially, but if the Overlord, usually when you see the Overlord in position like this and move forward, that's an indication that this is going to be a trigger pull. Although at the moment, Hydralisks making their way back. The Corsair remained active, got no kills, shockingly. Where's that damaged over? Damaged Overlord, I think, made his way over to the 9 o'clock location. I don't even know if the Overlord in the main escaped with its life or not. The Hydralisk drawing the way, it looks like it cycled its way back out, maybe? Maybe that's it. I should have paid better attention. So Yuey will remain in the game. He's invested a lot, not gotten a lot out of it, but he did force a lot of cannons out of Bayaster. I don't think he's been able to confirm that this is Corsair Reaver, though, in the midst of this. And I don't think he's been able, he might have been able to confirm, never mind, +1 weapons was canceled, so +1 weapons canceled to get some gas as well. Reaver and Zealots are going to be on their way shortly. Mutation delay, second gas getting tacked on. This is really going to be the important bit right here. So 5 hatcheries added on, +1 weapons being upgraded for Yuey right this second, but the initial Reaver and Zealots are making their way out into the field. The Corsair doing some forward scouting to find good drop locations. The amount of damage that this initial Reaver and Zealot are able to accrue will determine how things play out for the next stages. Spire being dropped along the rear, that might provide a little bit of a clog, but this has been unspotted by Yuey thus far. Reaver drops and gets a huge hit on some drones. Drones now fleeing, but fleeing right into the Reaver position. He's scattering. 2 more taken out. Shuttle speed kicks in, allowing them to flee. Corsair also creating some chaos along the back lines. In the meantime, some scattered defense making its way to the 12 o'clock location to try to absorb this shuttle. Able to get some initial damage and shuffle around, but we did see some considerable initial damages. The Spire about halfway finished in the midst of this. Second Reaver out on the field. Bayaster able to find another pocket. If you can just drop the Reaver, should be able to, whoa, never mind, scoops it back up. Is gonna loot, yeah, lost the shuttle. Probably should have just left it, turned around and tried to get a shot off there, but has another Reaver. He's at least defended at the natural expansion. Now the question, is that enough damage? For Corsair Reaver, it was very light on the Corsair side of things, which really sped up the Reaver drop. Definitely caught Yuey off guard. Yuey able to minimize the damage pretty effectively. Still sitting on 5 hatcheries. Looks like he's adding a 6th. Spire just about to complete. In the meantime, do we see an equivalent? We see a Templar Archives up. This is going to be late High Templar as a result. And it looks like we're seeing a fold back to a lot of Gateway Flood. Zealot, leg speed, and +1 weapons being upgraded. 9 Mutalisks taking flight in the midst of this to try to deal with this. Bayaster, I think, recognizing that he perhaps did not get enough damage in the initial stages, so instead going to walk this Reaver with the Zealots into the 3rd. That will not be sufficient defense against a slew of Mutalisks, however. If they opt to press forward and get aggressive. It looks like that 9 o'clock Overlord was finally picked off. First Overlord killed the game, I think, for Corsair. Don't quote me on that, I've been a bit distracted. 6 o'clock Nexus getting dropped here from Bayaster. The question is for how long? None of this at the 6 o'clock location attacks air, and Bayaster's been playing very, very light with the Corsairs. In fact, his one Corsair looks like it's dead there. So this is going to be a canceled Nexus of Dead Reaver. The Zealots storming their way out. Big losses and more coming because we don't have any additional defense over the gateway line. That might be GG. So it turned into a potential rough start for Yuey, is turning around to an absolute, well, maybe having trouble hitting the Corsair, now working on that cannon. Cannon's gone. That should be game, honestly, because this is straight over the gateway. This is a lot of Mutalisks. This can be reinforced. The Zealots getting rejected from the 12 o'clock location between the Sunken Colony and all of the Hydralisks there, so plenty of defense to deal with this. Another cannon does finish, but this is going to be a dead main. The probe's now evacuating. Bayaster down to 1 base, trying to emergency redrop the 6 o'clock, sending the Zealots back out to the natural location, but we have a lot of Hydralisks and a Sunken Colony waiting to absorb that. Corsair drawing off the Mutals briefly. Yeah, they're finding nothing, at least Bayaster mitigating losses by drawing those Zealots back, but right now, in massive emergency mode, taking a lot of losses. A group of Dragoons has been produced. The Mutalisk count has been dropped, however, inflicting immense amounts of economic damage in the midst of this. Yuey now has a 20 supply lead. He's even on workers. Is running off 3 base. However, critically, Bayaster able to hide the 6 o'clock base, and Yuey's not cycled back to the 6 o'clock to confirm its existence. Right now, it's unfortunately because of the fog of war, not able, and I like Bayaster taking that risk, honestly. Good risks to take at this stage. However, he's still got a lot of groundwork to make up for. This might equalize it, honestly, though. Getting it, because it's usually such a difficult scenario for Protoss to be able to establish a 3rd base. Hear that 3rd base up. Yuey planting the Hydrals, thinking that was a safe location to sit and regenerate, getting a rude awakening. Probes already trying to transfer. Hydrals grouping up to go ahead and engage. The probes are going to escape scot-free. It looks like the Hydrals trying to redirect briefly. Yuey just seems a slight step behind. It looks like a handful of probes are going to get caught, but now Yuey getting aggressive, dedicating a lot of attack, and I don't know that there's... I don't think Psystorm's been upgraded yet, honestly. Do we have enough energy for it? None of the High Templar have energy for it right this second. So a lot of Zealots being peeled off, trying to distract the Hydrals from the front. Now making the way forward. High Templar picked off before it even has energy for Psystorm. Observer there, but there's no Lurkers out on the field. Lurker upgrade is not even researched at this stage because of that Mutalisk swap. And now that natural expansion is breached as well. Things looking grim for Bayaster. There's, okay, Psystorm was finished. First Psystorm, Lurker is morphing straight up on the front here. Idol's doing some good, actually, never mind, they're just gonna straight up morph. And the Zealot, there's just not enough DPS. As soon as these Lurkers are finished, they're gonna immediately burrow and completely decimate the front line. We'll have 1 Psystorm. Is the Observer is still here. However, the Observer's still here. More reinforcements making the way forward. Corsair wiped out. Does the Observer gets picked off as well? So now if that cannon gets targeted, Bayaster's blind on the front. High Templar has been wiped out. Zealots marching to their demise as they're pressing out. And now that natural expansion is going to be gone. So it looked like it was going to be in a quick additional base, and with 2 additional Lurkers, by the way, walking straight up into the main. It's going to be a probe trying to do what it can. But that's going to be a dead Citadel of Adun eventually, as well as Templar Archives. Another Observer pops out, but there's 2 fronts and continual breaches as more reinforcements are making their way across the map. Bayaster in complete disarray right this second. Observer being dedicated to the back line to try to maintain the Templar Archives, as that's a key building. A Dark Templar scrambling about, hoping to make something happen. But there's Overlords already in position. Yuey's breached the ramp, and the gateway line is now completely exposed to a Lurker barrage. That will be GG. Game 1 goes to Yuey, and kind of a rough one back and forth between these two. But an entertaining one nonetheless. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.